come to settle the score. Enemy states, we trapped behind the line. Force to strike the beast, read the facts and the signs. Eye to eye with America, we ready for war. On the 666, we come to settle the score.
Hey yo, comfort is the enemy of progress. And don't forget, there's 48 laws of power to perfect, plus 33 strategies of war to connect, and the great seal United States to dissect. Look, I can see the all-seeing eye on the reverse side of a $1 bill. Homie, it's real. See, I'm convinced that the unseen hand exists. Just take a glimpse between the lines that the government spit. I'm in the heartbeat of poverty where demons shot at me. A lot's footprints guided me while the press try to blind me. I'm the blood in your veins that pumps the 12 gauge, and I'm that thought in your mind that wants to change things. We the revolution, settling the score with the 666, gripping the 4/5, aiming at the pulpit, dumping the clip for the simple fact that you preaching lies to the kids.
Enemy states, we trapped behind the line. Force to strike the beast, read the facts and the signs. Eye to eye with America, we ready for war. On the 666, we come to settle the score.
Not a YouTuber, just like making videos. And this one right here, I mean, it's going to be O.C.B.C, overcritical black commentators, or whatever. And the thing is, those that just want to criticize blacks for every little thing, and it's both sides. I'm not going to just talk about the bootlickers or whatever, but it also comes from, these pro-black, pseudo-revolutionary types or whatever. That's, that seems to be stuck in the past. It's like, black people have to walk on eggshells. Their goals for black people is mighty lofty. And I tell you this right now, just because you side with white people, especially when it comes to, racial issues, and want to wag your finger at black people, that doesn't make you an intellectual. I know some people, get this notion that, if you go against the grain or whatever, or when, when there's just some sort of racial friction, and, you want to kind of look at it from the point of view of, of the majority of whites, that somehow makes you smart or whatever. Or, if you're those, I don't know what are people's measuring stick for intelligence or whatever. I don't know what are people's measuring stick, or or what do they use to determine on who's an intellectual. I tell you, two of my favorite intellectuals is Noam Chomsky and Randall Robertson, which I mentioned their names repeatedly. And and they both of them criticize both political parties or whatever. Like Noam Chomsky says that sometimes he votes Democrat, sometimes he votes Republican. Randall Robertson heavily criticized the Democratic Party, and he's heavily criticized Bill Clinton, because black people love Bill Clinton, because he went to a church and went to a black church and played a saxophone. But yeah, I'm like, and the thing is, when you want to talk about social issues, and let's say you have you have a black gathering and a white gathering. We know that a lot of white people don't like to see that mirror or whatever. They don't like looking at themselves, like the story of Roxanne. But black people, we have been conditioned, we have been adjusted, to suck up every little negative morsel about ourselves, to hold our head in shame, to allow ourselves to get swatted with a newspaper and so forth. Why? Because we don't have our own individuality. Now, one thing where people will throw up, they'll throw up stats, especially when they talk about Chicago. I would say fuck Chicago. no, I take that back. But I'm so tired because now I've been to Chicago, but when it comes to Detroit or whatever, I have nothing to do with their murder rate and so forth. You know what I'm saying? And there's plenty of cities with a large black population where they're not dealing drugs and they're not killing people. You're only going to hear about the most dilapidated ones. And the thing is, I can't go to some white people, you know, and then talk about what whites are doing in another city, or even in their city or whatever. Whites will simply say, that's not me, I'm not doing it, you know what I mean? Just like when it comes to, you know what I'm saying, their racial, you know what I mean, their racism or whatever, their compounds, alienation, and so forth. They, you know what I'm saying, they will step away from that. There's no possible way you can go there and shame them. Maybe some with white guilt, but no. But with blacks, you know, it's like we're willing to take responsibility, you know, for you know what I'm saying, every little I would say our social ills, our problems or whatever, even if we're not the you know what I'm saying, we're not contributing to that problem and so forth. And also we embrace every single negative step, you know, like when it comes to our prison population, you know what I'm saying, unread single mothers and so forth. And yeah, and for some reason, you know what I'm saying, we think that some blacks will get the delusion that they are somehow intelligent or whatsoever, just for listening to somebody who sides with white people and so forth. And I said this right now, you can't be intellectual when you have an agenda, especially when you're one-sided, like Eurocentric history. You know, when you know what I'm saying, when you favor a particular political party, you know, or political movement, you know, and so forth, you have to be able to sit back and analyze, you know what I'm saying, and take in all information and make a proper judgment. But I want to go into these super pro-black guys, you know what I mean, that want to hammer away at us, you know, and so forth, and you know what I'm saying, or want to be overcritical of, let's say, you know what I'm saying, black women and show pictures of black women in the 60s. I'm like, we're living in an extreme digital age right now. It's simply just unrealistic, you know, for, you know what I'm saying, black women, they go back to when they all had afros or whatever and then show these pictures. And this is also misleading because in the 1960s, not every black women are, and you know what I mean, had an afro. You know what I'm saying? Time moves on, you know, and the thing is with black people, there's 45 million blacks in the United States. There's more black people than there is certain countries there in Africa. Yeah, and I know Nigeria, you know, they have a population of 100 million and so forth. I like, you know, so you gotta put everything in the proper. But you can't expect this mass exodus. You can't, you know, because I know these guys like, we gotta go back to Africa and build, you know what I'm saying, this is our oppressor's land or whatever. Still, you know what I'm saying, the white population, you know what I'm saying, isn't doing so hot, you know. And like, you know, we're choosing the wrong time. Like, this ain't really the right time to sit here and make this move. You know, and so forth. Like, I wouldn't say that our future here in America is completely bleak and hopeless. But bear in mind, when blacks make a progress, you know what I'm saying, you're going to have those distractors that's going to step up and be like, no, yeah, no, and say that, hence, the Negro is regressing. And when I hear that phrase, we're regressing, where the hell are we regressing to? And some of these guys who constantly talk about, you know, blacks, we have this slave mentality, which I somewhat agree with that, but I'm trying to figure out what exactly is the slave mentality. Is it the mentality that the slave master wanted to give the slave, or is the mentality that the slaves themselves had? Because each slave was different. There was slaves that was happy under the master's thumb, and then there's slaves that ran away. Or if slaves, cherished, because if you say that, oh, black people are killing each other, that's the slave mentality. When slaves didn't kill each other, it wouldn't be too lucrative for the master if the slaves were 86 in one another. I'm like, who would he have to pick cotton and so forth? So sometimes we have to analyze a lot of these, these certain terms and phrases that are just spewed out here. And here's another thing where people want to be overcritical of blacks. When they say us blacks are our own worst enemy. I laugh at that. You know what I'm saying? And in proper perspective, I can say us human beings are our own worst enemies, because we're more likely to be killed by another human than a mountain lion, a tiger snake, or the great Jabberwocky and so forth. And then they use we're our own worst enemy because of the violence in major cities, in certain cities. No, this is a certain condition. You see what I mean? I'm like, what I'm saying? You gotta look at mathematically. If you live in a city, or at least a sector of a city that has a lot of crime, and that that is predominantly black, there's a good chance that hence you will be a victim of crime, and the perpetrator will be a black man. You see what I mean? I'm like, no, it's gang banging and guns and drugs. You know what I mean? You have to prove that blacks are our worst enemies outside of this hectic environment. Now, I understand that there are blacks, that, these buck dancers or whatever, these blacks that want to move in a all-white enclave and don't want to see another black person move in. There's blacks at a certain position at their job that don't want to see blacks elevate and so forth. But when people talk about, I always talk about black people killing other black people, and hence you have to prove that these blacks are killing each other due to the fact that they're black, or is there another reason? Is it because of the drugs? You have to factor in, other things and so forth. And hence, if blacks are our own worst enemy, that means white people are going to accept us with open arms, that they're going to be a better friend to us. Blacks have limited power, especially when it comes to judicial system and so forth. So then, once you step out of your little hood or whatever, you step out that box, you're going to find out who your true enemy is. I'm not saying that the white man is your ultimate, the white man is your ultimate enemy or whatever. Your true enemy could be yourself. But again, when you say blacks are our own worst enemy due to murder rate, hence, there are things worse than this world than death. I'm going to put it like that. Also, if I do believe that blacks, my fellow brothers, is my ultimate nemesis, that's like, okay, I will only believe that if I move into a city, and an all-white city, there's only one other black man besides me, and he's giving me problems. We're the only two brothers, and he's just giving me problems. And then I move to another city. There's only one other brother besides me, and this person is just singling me out and giving me problems. I move to another city, and this brother who's not giving any problems to white people, who's giving me problems. Hence, a lot of the black degenerates and delinquents, these low lives, they give white people problems too. It's not like they're singling out black people. And also, let's say you got locked up. Let's say you got locked up in Mayberry County with these hucklebucks. Because, believe it or not, there are counties, there are jail cells filled with white people. They have to exist because there's no other black people that live in this city or this county to lock up. And let's say you locked up in a jail where it's all white and there's only a few brothers. You're gonna see who's your real friend is and who your real enemy is. Yeah, you know what I mean? Definitely, you're gonna, you know what I'm saying? You're gonna be there's gonna be a magnetic attraction. You're gonna automatically, you know what I'm saying, propel yourself to this intersection of brothers, and you guys are gonna look, you know what I'm saying, look out for each other. Just like with white people, when white people are, you know what I'm saying, are locked up in a major city where the jail cells are predominantly black, they're gonna look out for each other. Or if you go to a predominantly white school, you know, you already know that, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna have that lunch table where black people, you know what I'm saying, are all sitting at. You know, that's just like me when I first got to upstate New York, you know, the cafeteria. When I first went to the cafeteria, the first thing I did was sit at the black table. I didn't know these dudes or whatever my first day at school, but you know, but one thing of my favorite is that these dudes were army brats, you know what I'm saying? And my school, if it wasn't for the military, there probably will only be like 1 or 2 black kids, you know what I'm saying? And that's real. But yeah, you know, and that argument falls apart because people in their environment commits crime against other people in their environment. You know what I'm saying? The white man can be his own worst enemy. But, you know what I'm saying, white people they don't think like that. Even though they may come to that realization and they can say, oh, well, yeah, you're sort of right, but it won't be superimposed in their mind. Here in America, yeah, a lot of blacks will just believe that and so forth. And you have to prove that we're our own enemy. You know what I mean? That we cause each other problems on every, you know what I'm saying, social scale and so forth. I just came across a story in Buffalo, New York, where a man was moving into an all-white neighborhood and these white dudes burnt his house down. And then they interviewed this white guy about what happened, and he almost, I'm like, he dang near admitted, you know, almost admitted that he was the culprit to the crime. All he said was like, they got a whole lot of drugs and gangs in their neighborhoods and we don't want it over here. As if he was part of it and so forth. Like he condones these actions. So yeah, once you get out of the hood or whatever, or these areas where black people are, you know what I'm saying, are murdering each other and so forth, yeah, you're gonna find out, you know what I'm saying, they're gonna smack you in the face. Ask, no, I'm gonna say, but think about what happened to Alfred Wright, you know what I mean? He was going by his straight and narrow and so forth. I'm like, when you're dealing with the inner city and when you're dealing with all these social problems, social decay, you know, narcotics, warfare, I'm like, you can't, that's a horrible example to use. But moving on, man, it's like some of these guys, I'm like, they criticize blacks for every little thing, almost like we're not human. You know, like talking about black people were jealous of each other and all this other shit. I'm like, man, that's almost like jealousy was a trait that the slave master gave us. You know what I mean? And when they talk about, you know, black women and whatever wearing these prerogative outfits, the fact that they don't give us no, you know what I mean, we don't have no individuality. I don't know. It's almost like they want the so-called black commonwealth to operate like, you know what I'm saying, East Germany when the Berlin Wall was up. It's like they don't want us to have any freedom. You have to understand, in America, a free country, which, yeah, I'm going to use that term free loosely. You know, people are going to do things that you're not going to approve of, you're not going to like. You know what I mean? Where there's people with tattoos all over their faces, you know what I'm saying, all them weird ass piercing, I could find that completely detestable. I seen some white dude walking down the street, you know, I'm like, his whole physical frame was all tatted up, and I'm like, why would somebody want to look like that? You know, people are gonna make choices in their lives You know, so you can't look at black people as this monolithic people or whatever, and you can't just focus on the negativity, you know what I'm saying, and not focus on the positive, or at least look at the stats. You know what I'm saying? I put forth these stats in prior videos or whatever, and one known bootlicker on YouTube came to my page, and he's saying, and this guy's been trolling me for a while. I'm not saying this guy is a troll, but he's trolling me because he has nothing constructive to say about my videos. He said my stats were off, but he can't prove that my stats were wrong. And these stats are the majority of black people live above the crime rate. Yeah, I mean, live above the poverty rate. Yeah, you know, the majority of black people don't go to jail. There's more blacks in college who has been in college than there are in the prison system. Whoever put out that fallacy, that is a complete lie. Because when you're dealing with college, you have to ask the blacks, how many blacks have actually been to college? Bear in mind, some blacks who are in jail, that they've actually, you know what I'm saying, had a stint at a university and so forth. You know, and also, we gotta stop looking at the so-called black community as a charity case, as these helpless creatures that can't do nothing for themselves. Yeah, you know what I mean? Could there be improvements? Yeah, you know what I mean? Especially when you live in impoverished neighborhoods, there's all kind of things that you can do, you know what I mean? Lunch drives and so forth, but don't look at the whole body of black people, you know what I mean, as people that's just sitting by laying dormant, that don't own anything. Like, black people, we need to own land. There's plenty of black people that own land, but ultimately, if you don't pay taxes, the government will take that land. So yeah, the concept of ownership may be some sort of a slippery slope. You know, black people need to own farms. The Nation of Islam own farms. You know, black people, we need to start farming our own food. Black people need to do this. Black people need to do that. Hence, I mean, we live in a digital age. You can't expect people to, you know what I'm saying, just to pick up a hose and overalls overnight. No, that's simply not going to happen. Also, when you talk about blacks and you compare it to Africans, you know, Africa has a lot of problems, you know what I'm saying? They also got a problem with crime problem with drugs, you know what I'm saying, prostitution or whatever. Only difference is their government may be looking out, you know what I'm saying, or trying to do something for the betterment of their people, even though, you know what I'm saying, their ways may be, you know what I mean, sort of different. And so forth. That, you know what I'm saying, like giving somebody a weapon to make them better, but you know what I'm saying, here in America, our government, or certain factions of our government is not looking out for our best interest and so forth. And I do have to quote Tariq Nasheed, you can't criticize the so-called black commonwealth without analyzing the system of white supremacy that's established. Now, you know what I mean, blacks are second-class citizens, you know what I mean. There's no way we can get out of that realm. Why, of course, you know what I'm saying, white people run the whole show, and white people are going to look out for other white people. That's, you know what I'm saying, that's even logical, and I can understand that, you know what I'm saying, that's just human nature. And blacks and other people are, you know what I mean, are just, blacks are so-called afterthought in white people's minds, you know what I mean, we're an afterthought. Even when white people talk about their own history and what they've done or whatever, and then you mention about black people, and we're become, that. Yeah, you know, like when they talk about World War II, and then we'll say that, well, we fought in World War II, and then we came back here to America, and we couldn't even sit down at Woolworth or whatever, and at the cafeteria, and then they'll be like, that, like they want to glorify their own history, but you know what I'm saying, look at us like as a side note. And I think that the comedian C.K. Lewis said it best when he talked about white people, and this is a white comedian. very funny guy when he said something about how he was saying that being a white person, you can go back into any point in time in American history, so to say, and life would be good for you. You know what I'm saying? He says he don't want to go to the future because he don't want to see what happens to white people, but he can time travel back in 1950s, 1940s. As of blacks, we can't, you know what I mean? Our history, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? It was pretty dreadful. But thanks for watching and Sally forth.